Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Encourage Mindset that is presented by Infinity Exteriors. I'm alongside today an amazing guest. He's going to be talking a lot about probably sports, marketing, a little bit about mindset as well. And his name is Charlie here. And Charlie works for the Milwaukee Admirals at the moment in corporate partnerships. He's a dominator at this. He definitely is great at building relationships. And Charlie, why don't you talk a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Thanks so much, Ethan. Really, first of all, just wanted to say thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. It's been great, getting to know each other in our working capacity, and yeah, super excited to be here. So, yeah, my background, I work for the Milwaukee Admirals currently, as you mentioned, in corporate partnerships. I think one of the unique things about within where we work in our space in the minor league sports world, you wear a lot of different hats. So not only it's corporate partnerships entails sponsorship revenue generation, but TV production, making sure that we're putting an entertaining product out on the ice. So yeah, our season starts October 11th here. First home game is going to be October 18th. So it's kind of getting down to the wire. We're super excited though.
Ye-
But
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's the thing that we want to hit on right there. You said you're hitting, a position where you wear a lot of hats. I think that's it. For most people, that's exciting because you're doing something a little bit different every day. And from what I gather, you didn't, it's not like you were always doing sports. You were always doing sports marketing or you're always doing this. Like what, led to a path of you working for the Admirals?
yeah, so to give some more background, I went to Columbia College in Chicago, and it's always funny whenever I tell people I went to Columbia, they think I went to Columbia, New York. Most times I don't correct them. But anyway, with Columbia College in Chicago, I went originally for journalism, eventually then transferred into an advertising and business department. So not only are they a good visual arts school, great visual arts, but media and business. And so I would say really what changed my entire trajectory, my direction was my sophomore year. I was hired at our newspaper at Columbia College, the Columbia Chronicle, and I took over the position of ad and business manager. And over that summer, leading into my sophomore year, learned everything about cold calling, making relationships, building a revenue stream for a business. And I was doing that at 19 years old. And so now flash forward 10 years later, been in the media landscape, media sales landscape for that duration. Previous to this role, I was with USA Today in the advertising department. And so locally here in Southeast Wisconsin for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel and several other Gannett publications. But at any rate, I think how I ended up getting into sports, it really just ended up being the opportunities in which I worked with sports teams as my client at one point in time, and really used that those relationships to then once this position opened up, be able to speak to those experiences and be able to say, hey, this is what I've done on this end of the business, and here's how I can really apply that knowledge and that skill set for the team side.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because you're showing that it's a power of connections, but it's also a power of knowledge. Like you learned what you wanted to do over time, and eventually a position just seemed like it was worth, taking an attempt and a shot at, which sounds like has been super successful for you so far. So throughout your business adventures, career, college, maybe it's just you went to a speaking event, whatever it might be. What has been some of the best business advice that you've ever received and how have you applied it?
Yeah, I think number one, it's showing up with consistency. There are days you have, whatever it can be a Monday morning, it can be Friday afternoon, and anytime in between, you're feeling that lack of motivation, or hey, I'm not going to make that call right now, or I'd rather just send an email, or hey, I've tried to get in touch with this person 5 times already, I'm not going to make that extra call. It's just showing up with consistency and really sticking to a formula that works well for you. I'm a huge believer that there's no cookie cutter approach to fostering quality relationships, building partnerships. Every single business or every person you work with has different goals in mind. They have different objectives, and it's all about listening and learning to those. But just being consistent really is the key, I believe. And then, in addition to just showing up and having a consistent formula, not even just within the workspace, but when you wake up in the morning, I walk my dog every single morning. I listen to specific, music or podcasts. You start to just build that rhythm within your day to day. But I think when you're doing that, it's really important to set aside time to visualize what you want, visualize the outcomes that you want throughout your day. You can look at that from a small scope. What do I want to see happen today? What do I want to see happen this week, this year, next 5 years, whatever that may be, whatever the goals you have in front of you. But I would say that really started happening during COVID, when we had that time to think a lot and, take a little bit more of a look inward as far as, what do I want? What do I believe in? But I started listening to, different authors and different audiobooks really about visualization and the success that can bring you. And as, maybe corny or cliches that can be, I think seeing or really trying to visualize a successful outcome really puts a lot of those pieces together in front of you. So it really starts to kind of backwards lay out that framework to where you can get there.
Yeah, I really like that aspect of the visualization part. I think because I speak to that as a learner. That's just how I learn. So, when you see your goals and when you see whatever you're trying to attain on, paper or a graph, whatever it may be, I think to me, I get more energized and excited about that. And I'm sure most people can agree. Like when you see you're close to something, your excitement levels seem to, you get more excited and you put more energy into it because you want to do that next thing.
Right.
What I want to follow up on to you about is because you're in a corporate partnership space where, like you said, building the relationships and sometimes you have to create new relationships, right, is key. And you founded the part of consistency. And sometimes when you have to reach out to people, you have to be consistent, right? So how do you find ways to be innovative and creative and to do like new partnerships, but also you're not just doing the same old what everybody's doing, a cold email, a cold call? Like how do you stand out and be different?
Yeah, I think there's a big part of it, I guess, is personal branding, being active on platforms like LinkedIn, but also, going to events in the city. We've met at an event over, for our friends at Milwaukee Uncut, but it's getting out in the community and seeing people. I think, especially in Southeast Wisconsin and in Milwaukee, it's a smaller community. Compared to my background within the Chicagoland area starting my career. So, it's getting out and meeting people in person, especially in 2025 too. I think now more than ever, people crave personal connection over, again, getting a cold email or, again, just maybe more of those digital touch points. That's the direction of so much in our lives right now, right? Like things are going so digital forward, digital focus. And I think at the end of the day, what's going to end up prevailing is human connection and being able to actually create a relationship. So how do I do that? I'd say too, from a corporate partnership side, I think it's funny. The title corporate partnerships makes it sound very like cookie cutter corporate, like it's business to business. I really look at it as I'm just trying to not make friends necessarily, but be a personable guy. At the end of the day, you're working with a business who has these goals in mind of, hey, I want to reach this audience that the Admirals have. I'm there to help them bring that idea to life and do it in a fun, unique way. The Admirals are very much a vehicle to do fun, wacky ideas out on the ice during intermissions or out on our concourse. And at the end of the day, what I'm here to do is help people have fun. It's an entertainment, product. And so I bring that into every single conversation I have with prospective partners, current partners, maybe people we worked with in the past that haven't been with us in a little while. It's giving them that reminder, like, hey, the whole point of this is to have a good time. So I really try to do that in every single relationship that I try to create, continue to foster is when you're working with the Admirals, like you're working with a human being, you're working with me. You're not just working with, someone who's going to email you back a rate card and here's how you work with us and that's it. So That's at least my approach.
Did you learn that earlier on, or did you realize that uh, when did you start to realize that the relationships going to these events like the Milwaukee Uncut, going to the golf sponsorships, did you realize that while you're like pretty recently, or is that been something you just like was like, no, this is how I'm going to make a difference at the Milwaukee Admirals, is because I'm going to be this really personable, relatable guy that people will just get kind of glued to in a sense and just want to, like, when I call them, they're going to answer my call because they know they're going to get a, hey, how are you, how was the weekend, that sort of feeling.
Yeah, for sure. I think it really, I'm lucky my parents were both in sales. They're still both in the sales world. And I think that even that just saying, hey, I'm in sales can end up being, you get tagged with like a certain maybe stigma or what have you. But I just grew up in a household where people were very conversational, very open, very inquisitive. Again, I started out in journalism. So I think that really helped me have a curious mind and always in that realm of my schooling, and then looking at that as a prospective career choice. I think it just always made me more of a curious person, but it's been something I think that's been a part of who I am. And I think I have some friends in the industry that we talk about it, where like you kind of have this intangible, you either have it or you don't, that ability to connect with people, that ability to not only just have a business conversation, but have a personal conversation. And I think it's really, you can tell quickly when you're talking with someone where it's like, hey, how's your weekend? How are the kids? How's blah, blah, blah. You can tell right away if it's genuine or not, if they really care, or if they're just thinking about how can I get through this to get to what I want to talk about with you.
Yeah, no, totally agree on that point. I think we've all
Yeah.
sat in life situations like that, and it's very frustrating. But what do you think that you've learned through, besides your career and besides all your amazing accomplishments? What do you think that your mindset has been? Do you think it's shifted, or how do you think you've grown into be more of like a growth mindset versus like these things that people call a fixed mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what it end would to have a good quality growth mindset, it's just not being happy with the status quo. Like, I think you can get anywhere in life or in your career. And I think a huge piece of having a growth mindset is growth is just different for everybody. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't, people all the time will say to me, and I work for the Milwaukee Admirals, like, oh, well, do you want to work for the Bucks one day? Do you want to work for Major League Baseball one day? Do you want to work for the NFL one day? It's like, maybe that isn't the type of growth I'm looking for. Or at least right now, that like people on the outside think that's growth. Well, I think it's just being a little bit better every single day. Like, hey, I'm a little bit better than I was yesterday. Um, and it's also just not linear. You can take one step forward, three steps back, six steps forwards, two step back, whatever it may be. And then over time you end up looking behind yourself and you're like, whoa, I was all the way here. Now I'm all the way up here. And it just came through a lot of trial and error. But I think a part of that too, having a growth mindset is having that the mindset that it's okay to not have all the answers. I think if you ever sit in a business setting, a personal setting, and you think, "Oh, I have this all figured out," then you're already behind the eight ball.
I love that you brought that up because I think, sometimes myself, I fall in that problem too, where I think growth just literally has to be your career and everything is about your career, everything's about your job. But like, there's so many buckets of life where that shows like that's just not the case. I mean, you're
Yeah,
a husband, I'm gonna be a husband. I mean, that's a
yeah,
bucket of life. You got, what so many different buckets of life that you can grow in. And I'm sure a lot of people can say they've grown as homeowners, for crying out loud. Like,
right.
the first time you buy a home, you don't know what this is, you don't know what that is. Like, people
Yeah,
grow over time. I think that's the exciting part that you hit right there. Just getting 1% better, but also realizing that failure is something that's normal. It's something to be comfortable with and okay with, because a lot of people seem to be like not accepting of failure. So, have you felt that in your own life too? Like, have you ever seemed to like struggle with failure?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a really good example early in my career, I haven't shared this story publicly before, but my first job, I had actually left school. I left undergrad to go take this position. It was at a media company in Chicago. And I thought I was 20 years old and I'm getting a full-time salary and I have, commission-based structure. I'm so excited to do this. And then I was 6 months into the job and I got let go. It was like a first hired, first to get fired, get let go. I was 20 years old, I don't have a degree at this point now. I've left school. I thought that, hey, I could just finish school when I want. Um, and that really set me on this course. Like, I have to figure this out on my own. I really have to, take some inventory in my life and figure out, okay, now I need to finish my degree. I need to find a job. But I think that was a huge reality check for me to say, like, I thought I had things figured out and oh my gosh, I got a job offer and I have a job before I even graduated. They wanted to hire me and pay me big boy dollars to do this job. And it was unfortunate. It wasn't necessarily a reflection, I think, of my performance, but I was a naive 20-year-old kid. And now, where I'm at now, I look at that a lot in different examples of, business and personal setting stuff where those things really are just, if anything, the failures are just there to teach you. And if the best way to describe it is if you don't learn from those mistakes, you're obviously bound to repeat them. But those are the pieces of fuel, I think, that help you succeed. If you don't have those examples in your life to look back on and use as a reference point, I think the successes aren't really going to come.
Yeah, and I think stories help make us who we are too. Like, I mean, when you meet with people, whether it's relationship building or you're just out there, like,
Yeah.
I've always heard this to be true, and I totally agree with it. Experiences is what's relatable. I mean, you need to do experiences in order to relate to somebody, whether it's a business dinner, business meeting, whether it's, you're hanging out with friends, family, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
when you're at a graduation party and you're around relatives, like, people are like, hey, what are you up to? And if you're just saying, oh, all I do is this, like, you have to have something else. And I think that's what you're sharing right there is like, you had an experience that, you felt, and it motivates you to do, XYZ, and it helps you grow. And sometimes experiences can just be like, I went on vacation and traveled here, and that experience might connect with somebody down the road. And I think that's
Yeah.
what's powerful with, as you said, connecting with people on LinkedIn, or whether it is just a general, like, meeting with somebody, or getting to understand more of who they are as a person so you can relate better to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that you just made me think about too, I think our generation specifically is kind of trapped in this right now where, and it's not I won't say this right now in a bad way towards myself or towards you, but a lot of times it's like, hi, I'm Charlie Connelly with the Milwaukee Admirals, or I'm Ethan Vandehei with Infinity Exteriors. And that's, you constantly attach your job and your profession to who you are. And I think our generation has a bit of an identity crisis around like, oh, if I don't tell people who I am and what I do for a living, then what's my value? I think more often than not, when I'm in a networking setting, in a business setting, sure, like, hey, I'm Charlie with the Admirals, but pretty quickly I try to turn it into, so what do you like to do for fun? Like, what are your hobbies? What TV shows are you watching right now? Whatever that may be, just to get it off the topic. Because then when they leave that event, or it's a golf outing, or it's a dinner, or whatever it may be, they'd much rather be like, hey, I had a conversation with Charlie about the show Task on HBO right now, or we talked about whatever it may be, something that had nothing to do with work. But then one day they'll be like, hey, I kind of want to go to an Admirals game, or I think that I want to look at something like this in a partnership with them. That's so much more important, I think, than just gluing yourself to your profession as your identity.
I love that answer. I love that, because that's, like you said, it's a a thing a lot of people, and especially in our generation, struggle with. I know myself, I say it, with Infinity
Yeah,
exteriors all the time. So definitely something you like, I realize and recognize, but like, got it for sure put in the work to improve that, because at the end of the day, I'm Ethan Van Eye. I'm more than just Infinity exteriors. And that
right,
goes to the same for like anybody listening to this. You're more than your job. You're more than this. Like you're a husband, a wife, a son, a father, whatever it is. There's so many
right.
different titles that you own. Um, what else like, is there anything else on Encourage Mindset today that you want to share with, the worldwide listeners?
Yeah, sure. No, for anyone who's listening right now, I think what's so critical is just whatever's, whether it's a personal goal, a professional goal, something that you have in mind, something you've been thinking about. Let's just say, oh, let's just say you're an accountant and you're like, I've really always wanted to like write a comic book. I really want to do that, but like, how do I do that? Or even thinking about that thing that you want to do for however long it's been. My biggest advice is always just start doing that. And how does that look like? you know for me, I didn't know 10 years ago what I wanted to do. I wasn't someone who in high school and college was like, this is exactly where I want to see myself in 5, 10 years. But if you just start, you just have to start and go down a path, and obviously it's just going to weave and curve and bend and go in a lot of different directions. But I think the biggest failure for people is just never starting and never making that first step towards something. So that for me, I think has been that's why I am where I am right now, is because I made a decision to go down this road, then it led to this road, then it goes to this conversation, then I meet this person who introduced me to this person, then all of a sudden I'm sitting here talking with you, Ethan, where if I just never made that first step, I wouldn't be here. And I talk to college students about this. If we speak in like sports management classes, or there have been opportunities to speak with students who are interested in learning about a sports entertainment, sports marketing, partnerships, career. How did you get into this specific position? It was just by starting going down a path that, was within business, that's within media, that could then function into this media landscape, this sports media landscape. And so I always just say, just start. It doesn't have to be the right answer right away. It doesn't have to be the right job right away, the right internship. Just start. And if you do that, you're just one step closer to where you want to be.
Yeah, I like that answer a lot. It was funny. I recently did a podcast with Corey from Wisconsin Clothing, and he was saying the same thing. Like, I didn't expect myself to be making social media reels and
Right.
stuff for selling clothes, but you just do stuff, and eventually things happen. And that's kind of cool that you kind of preach the same motto, is just do it and give it a shot and see what happens. And I think the other thing I want to ask you about is like, because you do a lot technically in the sports realm, and we're talking about mindset and motivation, do you find that like your passion of consistency and mindset and motivation flows just naturally so well within your job, because that's kind of like a sports athletic mindset to have?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually am, even though I work for a hockey team, I had no hockey experience prior to being here. I'm a baseball guy. Baseball is my favorite sport. I played baseball, and it's, again, it may be cliche, but in any sport team setting, there's so many principles that just apply to life, right? Like, being out there, being a dependable teammate, sacrificing yourself for the betterment of a group, all of those different life lessons you end up learning. But you totally hit the nail on the head. Like, it's so cool that I have the fortunate opportunity every single day to work for a sports organization that I truly believe cares about our community and wants our community to be a better place. And that mindset that an athlete has, I do try to apply that to what I'm doing on a daily basis. And that's, again, those are things that just translate, I think, really well into life, but can translate into what you do for a living.
Yeah, perfectly well said. We'll end the podcast there. Charlie, thanks for coming on and sharing your, wealth of knowledge with us on Encourage Mindset today.
Awesome, Ethan. Thanks for having me. Have a good one.